Rams fans, welcome into a brand new episode of the Rams Report by Chat Sports. I rushed into the office today because we have got breaking news. Didn't even build the show with the normal graphics. This is the first time we've done what we usually call our at-home styles, although I'm technically in the office for this. But the reason why I was in such a rush, the reason why we've got to talk right now, Rams fans, is because there are two breaking news stories that surround your Los Angeles Rams right now. Number one, the Seattle Seahawks have lost their offensive coordinator. Clint Kubiak is exiting to become the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on today's show. But the more pressing and the second story that broke is Mike LaFleur, our offensive coordinator. He is leaving for the first time since 2023 when he joined the staff as the OC to become the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Significant loss. Absolutely it is. But I also see this as significant opportunity. I really do, to be completely honest with you guys. And we're going to discuss why on today's show. I'm going to talk about the opportunity ahead of the Los Angeles Rams. There's somebody on this staff right now that I think is 1,000% ready to take over as our offensive coordinator. I think this dude's ready to be a head coach at the NFL level. He got opportunities to do it. I know I'm kind of giving away who it is, but we'll get into it if you're not sure just yet later on today's show. But before we do, like I said, I ran into the office today. As soon as I saw this news break, I knew I've got to get a video out for the Rams house. Got to get a video out for the Ramily here on this channel. We are closing in on 3,000 subscribers. We just got this channel going on January 6th, and we are already closing in on 3,000 subscribers. It is February 1st. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, make sure that you do. Because like I said, we're locked in on everything Rams around here. We just put out a short on the Kubiak news. I didn't expect that we would get more news as quick as we did, so we put that short out. I think we got a short coming out on LaFleur as well. It'll probably be out by the time this video is out. But like I said, every time there's Rams news, I'm covering it here on the Rams Report by Chat Sports. So if you're not already locked in with us, if you're not already a member of the Ramily, as I always call you guys, make sure that you join because we are growing fast. But let's get into this news. Stop beating around the bush here. Because again, losing LaFleur is significant. He's been a driving force in our success over the last couple of years. I don't want to discredit that from him. Just because he's not a play-calling offensive coordinator doesn't mean he hasn't been a huge part of why the Rams have been really good over the last 3 years, especially on the offensive end of the ball. He's been a big part of Matthew Stafford's success. That's something that Stafford and McVay have both talked about. But I do think it is important that, or to at least recognize the fact that not that much is going to change, guys. I mean, losing your offensive coordinator, this is nothing new for us. This is not the first time that this has happened to the Rams under the tenure of Sean McVay. We lost Zach Robinson a couple of years ago. Before that, we lost Zach Taylor. We've lost a lot of guys to other head coaching opportunities, to other opportunities around the NFL. Liam Cohen before that, I'm totally slipped my mind there. He's obviously with the Jags now. Yet another offensive coordinator under Sean McVay goes on to become a head coach somewhere else. This is nothing new. But McVay is the genesis of the success. I'm not breaking news when I say that. He is the play caller of this offense. I think this is why we do sometimes see mixed results when these guys go end up somewhere else. I think the Cardinals got a good one, which is, of course, a little unfortunate for us given that they are an NFC West rival. We're going to have to see LaFleur twice a year because he has wound up within the division. So there's that element to this. I do think Arizona got a good one here. I do think that this helps them take a step forward as they look to develop the next quarterback of their franchise. But when we think about ourselves, when we think about what's next for the Los Angeles Rams, I think it's pretty obvious that this is Nate Scheelhause's job. Nate Scheelhause, if you're not familiar with our passing game coordinator, he's been awesome. He has been the right-hand man of Sean McVay on the hip of Matthew Stafford, working so closely with both of these guys. He is well prepared to take over as our OC. Other teams saw him as a head coaching candidate. If you didn't track with all of this, and again, this is something we've been keeping you guys updated on, so I know my subscribers are the real ones. They are aware, but Scheelhause has gotten head coaching opportunities, or head coaching interviews at the very least. Let me rephrase. He was interview requested by the Cleveland Browns, did multiple in-persons with them before they ultimately settled in on Todd Monken, but it was seen that he was one of the finalist candidates for that role, one of the final three, along with their defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, and he got an interview request in Buffalo as well. He went and interviewed with Brandon Beane and with Josh Allen up there to potentially become the next head coach of the Bills before they settled in on Joe Brady. So this is somebody who is seen around the league as ready to become a head coach, and I think it's pretty obvious that he saw the opportunity in Cleveland. He saw the opportunity in Buffalo. He wanted to take that step, but it wasn't quite ready for him yet. Those teams go in different directions. So if you're Nate Scheelhaase, the best thing you have going for you is that you can come back to Los Angeles and take over as the offensive coordinator of one of the best equipped offenses in the NFL, and then try to become a head coach next year. But for us, that's awesome. We've got Nate Scheelhaase for at least 1 year to step in and to fill the gap as OC. This should be a relatively seamless transition, in my opinion. That's, I think, the biggest win here. Very little is going to change about your offense because you retain Nate Scheelhaase and because Sean McVay is your play caller. Nothing's changing on that perspective. McVay's still going to operate this offense, and Nate Scheelhaase, who's worked so closely with Matthew Stafford, will still be right there. It stinks to lose LaFleur. It stinks to have to go through transition and turnover, which, of course, any turnover is still going to be a factor. But I think of all teams in the NFL, losing an offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams is one of the least significant things at the end of the day. It's just not a massive needle mover because we all know McVay is the reason why this system has been so successful since he took over. He is the play caller at the end of the day. And speaking of play callers, let's turn the page just a little bit here and talk about Clint Kubiak. He is exiting for Seattle and heading to Las Vegas to become their next head coach. And I think that's good news for us at the end of the day. I know a lot of Rams fans don't like celebrating bad things that happen to divisional rivals. They don't feel like we're in a position where we need to do that, which I totally understand it. Yeah, could we beat Seahawks? Could we beat the Seahawks with Kubiak? Absolutely we can. We showed that this season. It didn't happen for us in the NFC Championship game, but we were right there. But him exiting is undeniably a good thing. It's not detrimental to you to acknowledge that your opponent getting worse is good for you. Some team that you're going to have to play twice a year, losing a guy who has brought offensive success everywhere he's been over the last 6 seasons. This will actually be the 6th team for Clint in his last 6 years of the NFL. And you go back and you look at those, really only 2 of them have not been roaring successes on the offensive end. And there's kind of mitigating factors in both of them. He was in Denver in 2022 with Nate Hackett and with Russell Wilson, and obviously there was a lot of dysfunction there, so I don't think you can credit the failure of that to him. He also wasn't the play caller for a large majority of the season that year. And then he was in New Orleans working with Derek Carr, and he did get good football out of Derek Carr for early in that season, but then obviously he got hurt, and it was Spencer Rattler for the rest of the year. So 2 pretty unsuccessful seasons, but mitigating circumstances in both of those years. Everywhere else he's been, he's gotten fantastic play out of the quarterback, and I think that was a huge part of why Darnold was as good as he was this year, because he had him calling the plays for him. So he exits. I think it's very much unlikely that Seattle is going to go out there and replace him with an offensive coordinator of equal or better caliber. I don't think they're getting in a better play caller here. Ryan Grubb was terrible for them the year before that, so it's not like they're money on these hires. I do think that there's a chance they step back on offense next year, just because they lost him. Of course, they've still got good pieces. I don't think Darnold's a bad quarterback. I think he's really grown a lot. I definitely give him the credit of that. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is one of the best receivers in the NFL. I'm not saying Seattle's going to be bad on offense next year, but I am saying it's likely that they take a step back with Clint no longer being their play caller, and that's a big win for the Los Angeles Rams. That's something that we can take advantage of with one of our divisional rivals getting worse. Now, did one of our divisional rivals just get better with the hire of LaFleur? Very much possibly. I do think Mike heading over to Arizona is going to be a win for the Cardinals as well, but I think they've got a lot of work to do before they're going to be a real threat to us either. So I think we're in a really good spot especially when you look at this news, there's a lot of news breaking in one day. So let's go back over everything that happened, just in case we lost the plot here. Because I know no graphics here to keep things going, but let's lock in again. Clint Kubiak has exited the Seattle Seahawks as their offensive coordinator. He's going to go become the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. That was the 9th head coaching spot filled, leaving only the Arizona Cardinals open, and they quickly filled theirs. It was pretty apparent that Kubiak was the top guy for both of these teams. They both really wanted him, so wherever he went, the other one was probably going to make their decision after he did, and that becomes very much true as the Cardinals, just minutes after the Raiders, I don't want to say they announced it because they haven't officially announced anything with Kubiak still being in the Super Bowl. This is all just expected to occur. It is now expected that the Cardinals will be hiring Mike LaFleur, our offensive coordinator. He exits to go take the job in Arizona. Kubiak exits to go take the job in Las Vegas. So 2 NFC West coordinators exiting their role as OCs to go become head coaches. And I think when you nail in on both of them, they're good news for the Rams. Is losing LaFleur great? No, but is the opportunity to promote Shieldhouse to our offensive coordinator to continue that progression, to keep a seamless transition, somebody that Stafford is very comfortable with, somebody who McVay has a ton of respect for, and somebody that the rest of the NFL views as a head coach stepping into our offensive coordinator role to replace somebody else that the NFL views as a head coach. There are not many teams that are as privileged as we are to be in that position. That's awesome team building. That is a huge credit to the staff that Sean McVay has around him, and a big win for us as fans to be in that position where losing an offensive coordinator is not a major loss for you, but rather an opportunity to see the next progression of your offense. I really think it's fair to see it that way. And then we also get a win with Kubiak exiting Seattle. I think that causes their offense to take a step back. I think they move in the wrong direction. So 2 big pieces of news that are both very positive for the LA Rams on this day, in my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think about all of this in the comments. Let me know, and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already to stay locked in on Rams news. We were supposed to have a mock draft go out today, but instead this became the video for today. So I think the mock draft is going to go out tomorrow. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see our 3-round mock draft. I think you guys are going to really like the picks that I ended up making. But as always, let's go Rams.